it is.
You did it, thank you. Would you? After you.
Well, I was gonna lead it.
Well, I appreciate that.
He told me to lead. I think it was kind of like the sacrifice before the...
Oh, okay, you're the second.
Hey, can I sit back here so I can...
Yes, you can.
We got everybody in from out there? Good evening. Thank you all for coming tonight, and we'll start out by introducing the city council people that are here. Joe Trujillo. We got two of them tonight. Our mayor's right there, Doug Clark, John Ostermiller, Peggy Cole, Debbie, where's Debbie? Debbie Brinkman up there. Who else we got? Anybody else?
I heard Tom Mulvey was here.
Tom Mulvey's here. And there is Jim Taylor hiding over there in the corner. I guess that's about all of them. All seven of them are here tonight. So I'm going to ask our city manager, Jim Woods, to introduce some of the staff that's here tonight.
Thanks, Tom. I'll start over here on this side of the room. Jim Thielen is our Director of Codes and Inspections. Dennis Swain's our Acting Director of Community Development. He has all the zoning and planning and code enforcement under him. Marjorie Smith is our Director of our Bemis Library. Tim, and I'm drawing a blank. Nims. Happens to me every time. I've only known you 10 years. Tim Nims is our Museum Director. Heather Coogan is our Police Chief. Standing at the back, these are officers that are with our Special Enforcement Team. These are officers who don't work a regular beat. They work special assignments. Sam Mullen and Tom Hogue. John Mullen. John Mullen, there's John Mullen. John Mullen, our chief. Doug Farman, our finance director. Charlie Bloston, director of public services. Up in the back, Phil Cortese is our deputy city manager. Kelly Nardi is our director of communications. And Housing Authority, Dan Burton. And Joe Hammond is with the Housing Authority. And is there any city team member, if you're here, raise your hand. I missed you. Okay. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Jim. Well, let's have, is Dave Metcalf here tonight? Dave's going to give us a little bit on the update on the comp plan and where the planning commission is on that. And you're on. Maybe that mic. Mm-hmm.
Let's hope I can leave it at a little bit. The city council. Oh, you're going to do that. Good. Work off nervous energy. The City Council has asked the Planning Commission to review and update the city's comprehensive plan, called the Comp Plan. Originated in 1981, updated a couple of times since then. Just to set the stage for you, the land use pattern within the city is really shown in the zoning map, not in the Comp Plan. That tells you what you can do where in terms of general property use. The details of what you can build on a particular property within a particular zone are contained in the zoning ordinance. The comp plan really only comes into play when someone is trying to rezone a property, someone is looking to get a planned development overlay approved for a property, or someone is making a significant improvement to an existing property within what we call the transit or impact zone, which is basically a half-mile circle radiating around any of our two light rail stations, downtown and down at Mineral. The comp plan comes into play not in terms of resetting or reevaluating specifics like setback for a proposed construction, or height, or square footage allowed. It comes into play when particular elements of the proposal or the application are, let's say, stretching or testing the intent of the comp plan, which sets the overall vision for the city. What do we want the city to look like in general? What we're trying to do now at the request of council is to evaluate a couple of things specifically and then go beyond that a little generally. The specifics are there things in the existing comp plan that are out of date? Goals, for example, that have already been met. One of the goals in the early comp plan was trying to get light rail or some kind of mass transit to Littleton. We've done that. That's an accomplished goal. Are there things that were, for one reason or another, in conflict within comp plan? I can think of a couple of minor examples, statements in opposition as far as goals for Rio Grande Street over here along the railroad tracks. In one place we call for it to be a 4-lane parkway. Another place we call for it to be an enhanced pedestrian and bicycle route. Kind of hard to do both. The other thing council has asked us to look at is are there things within comp plan, goals, policies, that have been set aside, ignored, downplayed, whether because of changing conditions or some other cause. Those are the direct intents of the Planning Commission's review of comp plan. But we're also trying to set or reset the overall image for the city to be applied to rezoning or PDO applications in the future. One of the ways we've done this, after about a year of trying to make sure we were all on the same page as to what we were about, was to reach out to the city itself. We started off with a mailing of a survey to everybody in the city, 25,000, 26,000, asking questions on a variety of issues. We got a little short of 1,500 responses back, which I'm told is a great result, by the way. None of us were impressed at first. We not only mailed them out, in general to every resident of the city, we made them available at the city building, library, museum, places where people who not necessarily were available or contactable through the mail. We also contacted a lot of key stakeholders directly and not only asked that they complete the survey, but if they really wanted to, meet directly with somebody from the Planning Commission or with Dennis Swain to elaborate, if you will. City Council asked us to start with the central area, roughly the area between the river and the railroad tracks, between Hudson Garden and Bellevue. Primarily, somebody on council can correct me if I'm overstating, primarily because that was the area that seems to be coming up most in terms of considerations for change, applications for new development, redevelopment. So that's where we've started. What we're in the process of doing now is not looking just at the raw results of the survey, because quite frankly, we're more concerned with why people answered some of those questions the way they did and which groups answered which way, rather than just taking a poll. Do a majority of the citizens in Littleton think there is a parking problem downtown? That's less important than which groups think there's a problem, when is there a problem, and what about the situation is a problem for particular groups, particular times of the day, under certain conditions. We're still trying to go through that. We're trying to develop profiles. I know that's a nasty word these days. We're trying to develop profiles of which elements of the community see the central area of the city in which different ways. There may be ways to accommodate a variety of viewpoints about parking, about density, about building heights, the historic versus changing character of the central area that don't exclude minority opinions. And that's what we're trying to find, is a way that works, a plan that is consistent. So when we set goals and policies, none of them are fighting against each other. That will then set the template for going out to the other neighborhoods within the city. The city has been divided in the existing comp plan into 8 neighborhoods. I think originally it was, John, you corrected me on this the last time, 6 originally. Then we added the Santa Fe Drive area. We incorporated the South Industrial neighborhood. We will be going back and evaluating each of those areas, meeting with residents, businesses, property owners in those areas based on the template that we've set in approaching the central area. Right now, we still have a couple of key groups like RTD, ACC, considerable players regarding the central area to get their input, see how that juxtaposes with the opinions we've heard from the city in general, from central area residents, business owners, and property owners. At this point, we're expecting to have a draft ready late this fall, a little behind the schedule that we had talked about with council 7 or 8 months ago. But we want to do it right. We want to be able to explain why we are proposing certain things so that there's no question about motivation, how things fit together. That's where we are. If you haven't or didn't have an opportunity or didn't take advantage of the opportunity to submit answers to a survey, that doesn't mean we still aren't willing to listen to you. Regardless of what your status is as property owner, businessman, shopper, whatever, you can look on on the city's webpage and follow through the reasonably manageable menus to see what we've done so far, the information we've collected. You can also provide input either directly on the website or calling to the community planning office. We welcome your input. We want to make sure we've heard from everybody and we've done the best job we can in recommending to City Council a comp plan that's going to reflect at least the next generation for the city of Littleton. I'm sorry, that's at least twice as long as I should have gone.
That was very good. Thank you. Well, the staff was very nice in making me a real script here tonight that I may or not read because my glass fell out just as I was coming in here. And it didn't break, but it's out there, so this may be stuff I make up as I go along. We also, I'll read all this, and if you have any questions, we got all the staff here to answer them. Mr. Johnson already brought up a question. I hope he brings it up later to us. And if you don't want to say it, get up and say it. We have these contact cards that you can fill something out. There's a bunch back there or some here, and I'm sure City Manager Jim Woods will make sure somebody contacts you on whatever you write down there. So I'm going to talk about a few things going on in Littleton that you might find of interest. One is Alexis Downtown Littleton. That's at 5101 South Rio Grande Avenue, and the City Council approved zoning for this 350-unit luxury apartment development in October 2007. The complex has 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments. Amenities will include a 5,000 square foot clubhouse, fitness center, pool, sun deck, business center, and a conference room. The project will utilize a solar photovoltaic array to offset a portion of the energy costs. The developer, Trammell Crow, started leasing apartments in June, and residents have already started moving in. And next, we have the residents at Nevada Place at 5592 South Nevada Street. And this multifamily residential redevelopment of the former St. Mary's School site will have a total of 68 condominiums, with 34 on the east side of Nevada and 34 on the west side. And parking will be below-grade parking structure. And the owner waited for a minimum number of pre-sales to start constructions, and now he has his permits and construction is underway over there. Let's see what we got here on number 2. The last pad site at Riverside Downs, and that's at 2660 West Bellevue Avenue, is being developed as a Freddy's Frozen Custard, which is a popular franchise from Wichita, Kansas, specializing in frozen custard, steak burgers, and hot dogs. And Freddy's will be a 3,600 square foot drive-through restaurant with indoor and outdoor seating, and construction is under construction right now and expected to open this fall. And we have Littleton's first large-scale hotel is taking shape on County Line Road, just east of Santa Fe. The 76,633 square foot Hampton Inn and Suites will have 118 rooms, a swimming pool, a spa, and fitness center, and 1,200 square feet of meeting space. The $15 million facility is expected to open this fall. And here are some of the new Littleton police programs. One is an intersection safety program. Littleton has joined a number of other metro cities introducing red light enforcement technology. The program started July 20th at Littleton Boulevard and Broadway with the goal of improving safety at the highest accident intersections in the city. For the first 30 days, warnings will be issued. After that, the fine is $75 with no points assessed. The next two intersections to be deployed are at Mineral Avenue and South Santa Fe, and Bowles Avenue in South Santa Fe. Signs are posted in advance at the three locations to help make the community aware. The vendor installed cameras that help make that take a picture of the vehicle, license plates, and driver when the red light is run. Violators will be notified by mail, and they can view a video of the violation on the company's website. Isn't that nice? You can see a picture of yourself running a red light. If they chose to plead guilty, violators can pay the fine online. And another thing is our new license plates recognition. This is an amazing technology advancement in public safety. The City Council approved purchasing the equipment that has been installed in 2 police patrol vehicles. It scans and can photograph 3,000 license plates in a 10-hour shift. It runs the license plate numbers through the CBI and CCIC databases with the goal of identifying stolen cars, sex offenders hanging around schools, and restricted licenses. The system is passive, so the officer will continue to respond to calls while the license plate recognition software does its job, essentially putting extra eyes on the street. Littleton Public Schools provided about $7,500 of the total cost of $44,000. 2 more systems are on the way, funded from a stimulus grant. 1 more will be coming this fall from an auto theft prevention grant with our partners at the cities of Englewood and Sheridan. On July 21st, Police Chief Heather Coogan, sitting up there she is, presented Council with a certificate of re-accreditation from the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, otherwise known as CALE. The Littleton Police Department is one of only 400 accredited police agencies in the country and one of only 7 in Colorado. The Littleton Police Department first received accreditation in 2006. The Neighborhood Watch program is getting a facelift. The program's focus is neighbors looking out for each other. The Littleton Police Department is really interested in getting old neighborhoods reactivated and recruiting new ones. If you are willing to be a block captain and get your neighborhood organized, talk to Chief Coogan or one of the other officers here tonight. There they are. Some street projects going on. The Hunting Hill developer in Douglas County has improved County Line Road to 4 lanes with a curb and gutter and drainage facilities. County Line Road was closed for several weeks from Lucent Boulevard to Erickson Boulevard, but reopened last week. Hunting Hill is a condominium development on the south side of County Line Road, west of Lucent Boulevard in Douglas County. CDOT is doing extensive pavement repairs on C-470s from I-25 to Santa Fe Drive. Most work is being done on weekends and will continue until late 2010. This project is being paid for by stimulus funds and plan on traffic delays in this area. And repair of the C-470 concrete bike path from I-25 to I-70 will start soon. Work is scheduled to begin later this summer and extend into late 2010. The project is managed by CDOT and paid for by stimulus funds, otherwise known as the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act. City engineering staff is managing the reconstruction of East Powers Avenue from Broadway to Grant Street in the area north of Littleton High School. All work should be completed by the end of August. The city received $200,000 in CDBG funds to rebuild streets in the apartment neighborhood north of the school. This is east of Broadway. The city will put another $300,000 into this project. A new traffic signal will be installed at the intersection of Main and Curtis Street in downtown Littleton at a cost of about $100,000. When's that, Charlie?
Right now, it's under construction.
It's under construction right now. Thank you. The Colorado Department of Transportation is in the final engineering phase of a new flyover on Santa Fe Drive to eastbound C-470. This project also involves Douglas County and the city of Littleton. $1 million was spent for street rehab of Main Street from Court Place to Santa Fe, Bellflower Drive from Bowles Avenue to True Lake Drive, and Powers Avenue east of Broadway. And due to voter approval of the Tabor question in 2008, staff has completed seal coat resurfacing of numerous streets throughout the city. This is over and above the annual street rebuild program. It is a special micro-seal process that will extend the life of the streets from 5 to 10 years, and portions of about 100 streets are going to get some work at a cost of $967,000. Over $250,000 will be spent on street overlay projects on 14 streets. They include Bellevue Avenue west of Federal, Lowell Boulevard north of Bellevue, Lake Avenue west of Datura, Prince Street south of the Railroad Depression, 2 streets in South Park, 1 street in South Bridge, and 4 streets in Oak Brook. And the Littleton housing. Last fall, the city began a housing inspection program of all rental properties in the city. Prior to October, housing inspections were done only on a complaint basis. A proactive approach was decided upon because of a steady rise in the number of complaints the cities received from renters. This program includes all rental units throughout the city. It began in the northeast neighborhood because the majority of complaints occur in this area. The Littleton Police Department and code enforcement officials are also helping out. These safety inspections, among other items, focuses on broken windows, holes in walls and ceilings, bugs, faulty wiring, defective plumbing, inoperative heating systems, roof leaks, peeling paint, and smoke detectors. There are 4,723 rental units from triplexes to multi-unit buildings in Littleton. From October 21st, 2008 through this week, 826 units in 65 buildings were inspected and re-inspected when corrections were necessary. To date, 182 units in 17 buildings have satisfied the requirements of the Property Maintenance Code and received a certificate of compliance. It will take about 3 to 4 years to complete this inspection program. The Littleton Housing Authorities will invest over $2 million in their property in the next 12 months with $275,000 in stimulus funds and other grants to make them more energy efficient. In October 2008, the Littleton Housing Authority purchased 3 apartment buildings on West Power Circle with 39 units. They are efficiency 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments. While the buildings are in good conditions, they have not been renovated since they were built in 1961. The Littleton Housing Authority is applying to the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority next month for low-income housing tax tax credits to finance this. Housing Authority staff have completed a capital needs assessment and determined that approximately $2.4 million is needed to update the buildings. Proposed rehab includes new Energy Star qualified boilers, windows and appliance, roof replacement, upgraded security and safety systems, new carpeting, kitchens and bathrooms, and energy efficient light fixtures. 12% of the units will be for people who earn 30% or less of area medium income. This will allow people who are on public housing waiting lists to rent these units. The remaining units will be offered at 50% and 60% of area medium income. And here's some park and open space information. The playgrounds at East Elementary School will be rebuilt this fall with the facilities available to the public during non-school hours. The city received $133,600 from the Arapahoe County Open Space Grant Program, and the East PTO will put in $8,400, and the city will provide $25,000 from the Conservation Trust Fund. Students from all grades at the school participated in the new park's design. On August 18th, the City Council and the South Suburban Parks and Recreation Board of Directors will hold a public hearing to receive citizen input on the South Platte Park Management Plan. The hearing will be during the regular council meeting. It starts at 7 p.m. Some City Council and board members want to allow more public access to the Cooley Lake Wildlife Area, especially for fishing. Since 1994, this area has had restricted public access, mostly from monthly park ranger-led hikes or organized resource management activities. And if you got an opinion on this topic, we'd love to hear from you. And that's at 7 o'clock, but our meeting next Tuesday won't start till 8 o'clock because it's National Night Out. And that gives us an extra hour to try to make some of the National Night Out parties that are held all over Littleton. I don't know how many we have. Do you, Jim? Over 40 of those. So, and it's always a lot of fun to go. We usually try to make 2 or 3 each city council person, even Doug. And our Littleton's favorite week of family fun starts August 6th with the Taste of Western Welcome Week here at the Littleton Center. And August 12th, the Carousel of Music will also take place right here. And you can enjoy 50-cent hot dogs, pop, chips, and ice cream. This year, the Performing Pigs, pork chop, and bacon will perform. And finally, the Grand Parade will be Saturday, August 15th. They wrote that up very nice, don't you think? Now we can go into questions. If anybody has any questions, we have a mic here, and Mr. Johnson gets to bring that one up. But he brought it up to me earlier.
We need that? Yeah.
You can't expect me to walk up there.
I'm Elwood Johnson, and I raised the question to the manager and the finance director why we got a second sewer bill and it's not even due yet. Would somebody please explain that to me?
Thank you. That irritated me too. I got one today, and the bill isn't even due until the 18th of August. How come we got one of those?
Some people received a statement of account if they still had a balance on their sewer storm bills, and that is just basically a reminder notice that your statements, your bills are due August 15th. That's all it is a reminder notice. Some people requested that we do a reminder notice because you get a bill June 15th. Some people put it in their drawer, some people misplace it. This is just a reminder notice saying, please pay your bill on time August 15th.
And let me just add to that, since Elwood seemed to be somewhat irritated about it.
Yes, I am.
Well, let me say this, that, you know, it's hard not to irritate everybody. And so last year when we critiqued, we get comments in every year. We get lots of helpful comments about how to run, you know, the better finance department. But some of the comments we got last year with people said, I'd really appreciate a reminder. So for those folks, we were trying to accommodate them. Elwood will note this year that folks that got the reminder, that there are some people who are irritated about it. We will try to balance out those who wanted the reminder versus those who are irritated. We figure if we can keep it 51%, we're doing okay.
I have the first notice right there with the date on it, and when it comes due, I'll mail it, but I won't do it before.
Okay, we got you down.
Thank you very
I got
much.
you written right down
I
here.
won't be late.
Well, it looked like it was a past due thing. It could say a reminder or something
We'll
as
work
far
on it
as I'm
next year,
concerned.
Tom.
Tom, you want to say something?
Statement of account.
You want to come down and say something here?
I'll yell from here.
Yell at me.
I appreciated getting a reminder, but it would sure be nice if we could think of some way to do it on the cheap, like an email or something that didn't require the expense of printing out a form, stuffing it in an envelope, and providing the post office with more money.
Thank you. Question?
Along the same lines, we haven't received this Littleton report yet. The reminder's in here.
It just was
It's mailed to every resident.
going to be mailed to every home. All right, Kelly?
Seems to me that
That's Kelly there that does that all
It
that
gets
work.
mailed to 25,000 postal patrons, and those are the copies that we just received today. The rest went to the post office today, so you should get it at home in the next few days.
It's got my picture in there, so you want to study it. Cut out, frame it. Some questions, yes, sir.
Tom, a question.
Do we have a schedule for completion of the Excel gas line work on Gallup?
Charlie, I was going to bring that up, but he beat me to it. It's not Charlie's fault. It's Excel's, you know. And
Let me help you a little bit on that. There was a gas line leak. Charlie, microphone.
Speak up.
I'll talk loud, okay? Yeah, we're on television, so I have to smile. On Gallup Street, north of Ridge Road and south of Peakview, there's been a significant gas line leak that was detected by Xcel Energy several weeks ago, and it's like watching your clothes dry when this project started and will end. It's going to take a long time. But they are committed. They're doing work out there now. When will it be done? I wouldn't even guess, but I would probably want to say within the next 10 days. I hope it's done within then, because we plan to resurface the street as soon as they're complete. So if you live in that area around Gallup, between Ridge Road and Cayley, and you've driven over that area, you can see it's pretty rough. I'm glad they're fixing the street, but the same crew that does that also had to spend a whole lot of time last week on some major repairs up in the northern part of the metro area. So I understand some of the delays that are occurring. However, I've been told that they are moving ahead, they're progressing, and I can assure you that once it's done, we will come in and resurface the street with the seal coat treatment that Councilman Mulvey mentioned earlier tonight.
Charlie, have you posted no smoking signs on Gallup?
Yeah. There's another part of town that experienced a gas leak over where Councilman Cole lives, and they were right on that very quickly. It's all done on priorities. Actually, at this one in Gallup Street, it wasn't so severe, so the first thing they did is drill holes in the street to vent the gas. And as the mayor indicated, the last thing you want to do is go strike a match in that area. But I'm assured that they are moving ahead, they're spending the money in, they have the crews out there to complete the project within a reasonable period of time. As you can see, I have not told you when it's going to be done. I'm hopeful it's done in the next 10 days. And we do have an inspector out there on a regular basis checking all the work and making sure the streets rebuilt their part of it as best as can, and then so we can come back and do the resurfacing.
thank you, Charlie. Who's next with the questions? Aha.
What's the status of the possibility of considering a lodging tax, given that we're going to have a campaign?
What'd she say, Bruce?
lodging tax question. What's the status?
Well, Councilman Mulvey has asked that the idea of a lodging tax be considered by the City Council. We did staff this 6 or 7 months ago, last May, when the Hampton Inn was coming in. At that time, Council, I believe, I don't have the vote off the top of my head, determined that at least the majority of them weren't ready to move ahead with that. Mr. Mulvey's requested that it be reconsidered, so there's going to be a discussion item on next week's council agenda. If the council decides to go that because it's a tax, it would have to go on the ballot in November. Under Tabor that was passed, any tax increase has to be voted on by all the people in the community. So there's a process that if the council decides to do that, we'll have to certify a ballot question to the county clerks and have a ballot question that would go in November. But the council needs to discuss it next week to see if they want to try to proceed with that.
That's the meeting that starts at 8 o'clock next week, so you can all come and hear what they have to say about that, because I'm all for it. What else we got? Anyone else? Aha.
I'll support you on that.
Got 2.
3.
3. Anybody else want to? Come next Tuesday. 8 o'clock meeting. Who else? We got some questions here. Ah.
Hi, I'm a resident on Ridge Road. I'd like to know if there's any thoughts about regulating the speed on Ridge Road. There's 4 stop signs, up and down 5 maybe, and people clip down there about 40, 45 miles an hour, and when you have small kids, you can't let them out to play.
Chief?
We can do some enforcement, as you said. The stop signs do slow them down, but we'll be happy to send some officers over there and do some enforcement. We try to move the enforcement around the city on a regular basis because traffic is an issue for everybody, and the speed of the traffic is an issue. But we'll be happy to get some cars out there and write some tickets.
Next. Ah.
Yes, South Broadway from Arapahoe Road down to where the old Marathon Oil is in very, very bad shape. We had that tough winter a couple years ago. Is Littleton responsible for maintaining that portion of Broadway, or are there any plans to resurface it, cap it, or repave it?
Assume you want me to do this one?
Please, Charlie.
South Broadway in the vicinity you identified is shared somewhat by the city of Centennial as well as Littleton. The city limits run right down the middle of the street. I'll give you an example. From the Phillips 66 station on Broadway north of Arapahoe, there's actually 2 Phillips stations right across the street from each other. Don't try and explain that. But they're right there. That's the city limits. That's the, let's see, both Phillips stations are in Littleton. But if you go south on the east side of the street, you're in Centennial. If you go south on the west side of the street, you're in Littleton. Okay, I could confuse you for another 10 minutes as we go down Broadway, and I'll save you the heartache of all this. The bottom line is that the worst part of the street, which is the northbound lanes, is in the city of Centennial. And as much as I would like to, sometimes we don't spend Littleton tax dollars in the city of Centennial, just like they don't want to spend a whole lot of their street repair money in the city of Littleton. However, over a series of several months, Jim Woods, the city manager, and I have been meeting with the city staff from Centennial to work up a plan where both cities can cooperatively do a repaving of Broadway from that joint Phillips 66 area south all the way to Fremont Avenue, which is where the old Marathon property used to be. This is a project where both cities put money into a repaving program and resurface it. We don't have the money, either city, to totally rebuild the street and make it acceptable for a long term. That financially isn't available right now. So what we will be proposing, and it goes before the city council next August 4th, and I'm kind of jumping ahead because the council has not heard this, is a proposal for both cities to fund this project and do a repaving that will occur in September. And this project will be good for about a 5-year period. Some people like to call it a Band-Aid approach. I would call it a real good ace bandage. It's going to make the patient feel a lot better, but it's not going to cure the disease. And the patient is all of us that drive Broadway. That project will be presented to the city council to see if they want to authorize the staff to go ahead and pursue that paving in a joint project with Centennial. So council, I'm sorry I'm presenting it to you a little informally now, so bear with me, but that's what's going to happen on August 4th, and if they say, okay, we'll proceed. Otherwise, the city of Centennial might spend their money somewhere else. But yes, there is a plan to move ahead. Short story long.
Thank you.
Tom, one other question.
Yes, sir. Wait.
On Jameson, we have the covered bridge. What was the final resolution on that? Either we're going to tear it down or people are going to assess themselves a little bit more tax and preserve it. I never heard what happened to that.
The bridge is on West Jameson Avenue, just west of Broadway. It's a covered bridge, appearing structure that was constructed in 1982, if I recall. And it's gone through some severe damage over the years that has all been repaid or repaired by insurance companies or the city. And at one point we thought maybe now we ought to do some major work on it, and the cost of that was pretty extreme. It was well over $100,000. To be honest about it, I gave a lot of second thought to this project and said, why don't we try another approach? Let's do some repairs. And the council authorized $25,000 to fix the structure as best we could. To be honest about it, that worked. So rather than assessing all the residents of Southbridge some money to repair the bridge that is an entry feature for their neighborhood, the city spent the $25,000. I think we did a really good job in making it look better. We think it's structurally sound. It should last for quite a while until at least the next big truck comes through there and does more damage. I honestly believe we're in good shape for a long time to come with what we've done, and there is no further assessment to the residents of Southbridge.
Thank you. I thought they did a great job too, and we didn't have to tear it down, which it's nice to have that covered bridge in Littleton. Anyone else want to bring up something that, Phil? Mayor? You want to come get this?
I'll try to be real loud. I went and attended the joint meeting between Douglas County, Centennial, and the city of Littleton on the rebuild of County Line from University to Phillips. And I thought that was a well done, and all the entities worked well together. I was surprised, though, that no light had been designated for Phillips and County Line Road. And I seem to recall that there'd been a traffic study some 2 or 3 years ago, but I got it in the back of my mind that that was done like Easter week or something like that, where the traffic would have been out of the usual pattern.
Okay, let me see what I can do. I get paid extra for questions that are long, and a number of times I stand up here. The project is a widening of County Line Road from University Boulevard on the east to Broadway on the west. If you go east of University, Douglas County and Arapahoe County has spent a great deal of money widening County Line Road to 4 lanes, putting in turn lanes, and very large sound barrier walls, all the way from about Quebec to University Boulevard. Talk about speeding cars. You can go through that County Line Road section now easily at 60 miles an hour. The next part of the project is to extend that widening from basically the Target store on County Line Road to Broadway. It'll be 4 lanes, turn lanes, large walls or 8-foot walls to accommodate the residents who mainly live on the north side of the street in Littleton, the Kensington neighborhood, and part of Oak Brook. And it would include a traffic signal at Clarkson and County Line Road. That traffic signal is warranted. The one at Phillips Avenue, or Phillips Drive, whatever it is not warranted by the technical numbers. To be honest about it, there's not enough traffic on Phillips to justify placement of a traffic signal at this time. I appreciate your comment about the traffic numbers being done during the Easter week. I'll be glad to run another traffic count out there. We do it during the school time. Typically, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays is when we do our traffic counts. So if you're interested in how much traffic is on your street and you want a traffic count, we do it on those 3 days, and then we take the average. And we do it after Labor Day on weeks that we know that students are in school and there's no events happening that might cause the traffic numbers to bounce one way or another. If you are interested in traffic volume numbers on various streets in Littleton, the city's website, littletongov.org, and if you go to the left-hand side, I think it says traffic, we do have a full page of nothing but traffic count numbers tied to a map. Now, we don't have it on every street in town, obviously, but if you want to know what it is on Ridge Road or Broadway, Santa Fe, County Line, Littleton Boulevard, for example, that map has all the traffic counts on it. For the neighbors in Oak Brook, we will rerun that count. And I promise we'll do it after school starts and during a 3-day count, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and see what those numbers are. And before we put in a traffic signal as a part of a project, we have to have certain numbers on those side streets. Before you get too excited about driving down County Line Road and seeing all the construction between Broadway and University, the project cost is $10 million. And the cities and the counties don't have that money right now. However, the engineering is proceeding along extremely well, and we're having it done so that, use these words in quotes, shovel-ready project. Because we honestly believe there will be some economic stimulus money freed up late in 2009 and possibly 2010 that other cities won't be able to use, that we can take a project off the shelf real quick, submit it out to bids, and be ready to go within 6 weeks. And with that economic stimulus, or as Tom described it, ARRA money, there is no local match. The federal government pays for all of it. So that's one direction we're moving, just in case that money becomes available. And I'm kind of hoping that some cities up north don't spend some of their money and a quick $10 million becomes available. Will it happen? I don't know, but we're going to be ready in case it does. Is that just your question?
Let me assure you that I don't pay him extra for the long answers.
Should I just keep the mic? You know.
Why don't you hold on to it?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Is that okay? You live in Oak Brook, do you?
That's a great answer. I have one other question. Recently, DirecTV Home Services acquired the building on South Grant Way, and it had been vacant for quite some time. And initially, there was one unbelievable noise problem and smell problem, and I want to thank the police for their work in resolving that. But at the same time, it brings a larger issue, and that is the areas that are zoned industrial that butt right up to the residential is a real ongoing problem. I mean, the noise thing covers 800 feet, and they're doing a nice job of trying to be good neighbors. They're not running their vehicles in reverse. They've got the loudest electronic warning devices that I can hear. But that really gets back to this problem of, you know, the manager over there, he'd love to work more hours. But the noise that place can generate is just unreal. I sure like to have the city, think a little harder on some greater level of protection for the homeowner in terms of the hours of operation and the acceptable kinds of noise.
Jim, you want to say anything about our noise thing, huh?
Well, as you know, that area where Oak Brook is right up against that industrial area is a challenge for us. We do have, I think, some pretty, at this point, reasonable noise standards. As you've said, we work very hard at it. But as new businesses move in there, I think your request for us to re-examine, make sure we're keeping up with the trends is a good one. So we'll take a special look at that area because that is a challenge there right next to your neighborhood.
You keep asking questions, we're going to run you for city council. You have a question?
I don't have a question. Can I just announce?
What, you trying to make a plug?
Thanks, Tom. Many of you know that, and I know his picture's been all over the place, but I do want to allow us to recognize Tom. We're part of the community, and maybe we can actually put our hands together. Tom's going to be inducted to the Broadcasters Hall of Fame on October 2nd. Did I get the date right, Tom?
It's the right date, thank you.
And so he's a good person. Maybe we could put our hands together and maybe give him some applause. That was one announcement. I have one that's particular to the district, and then one that's more a public announcement, I guess, on some of that. One is I have submitted my affidavit to be considered for the city council position for District 3. So as I've had a chance to meet some of you tonight, I haven't had a chance to meet others, but I would welcome any kind of conversation that you might want to have. So I'll put that out. The other is I'm also on a board called the Long-Term Care Forum, which is in the state. I know it's not a city issue, but it is a state. I know that many of us are in the age group where we may have been targeted for a mailing from Governor Bill Ritter, regardless of whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, or other party affiliation. Wanted to mention that there is information that's being made available to folks on a free basis. It's a free basis, but it's funded by the federal government on this. And many of you, if you're like me, may not have received your mailer allowing you to request that information. So I brought along some of that information tonight if you'd want to stop by. The particular households were targeted were ones that had individuals that would show up on the mailing list between 45 and 65. It was not meant to offend anyone else, is what I was told this morning, but if you're somewhat outside of that range and would like the information, you can stop by and see me. I brought some of those packages along with me. So, it's one where it's consistent with some of the things that we have to do as individuals as well as a city, which is taking a look at long-term planning as well as short-term issues that we have to address, and what this is a resource that individuals can use in having discussions within their family about their own long-term care needs.
I didn't catch your name.
Oh, Tom. It's Phil Cernanek. So, and I want to ask you for your support at the election in November. Thank you.
You want equal time, Bruce? Up, hands up there. You make it down.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm going to sit on. While we're passing out praises, I got one for Jim Farnham. Oops. You know, you'll find this hard to believe, Jim, but I actually read the CAFR from cover to cover. And that's the comprehensive annual report, and it looked terrific. I was very pleasantly surprised that Littleton's in such good financial condition. I know we've got a kind of a year-to-year cash flow problem, but it really looked pretty good, and I was pleasantly surprised. And then the other morning, Jim Woods was talking to the downtown business merchants, and I don't know what happened, Jim, but you had a remarkably new posture. There was a little glow in your voice, and it was all sounded pretty positive all of a sudden. And I thought, maybe he read the CAFR report too, or maybe there's something else going on. So if you've got any answers, I'd be glad to hear them. Otherwise, it's nice to see you smile.
Thank you, Tom.
No comment. Any other questions out there? No.
Walt Whitman School, ask about that. About Walt Whitman School, they're shutting it down.
What did he say, Jim?
He asked about Whitman. Let me just...
Whitman, oh, those schools.
Sir, let me just say that the city council, that's the school board, and certainly the council, we have a tremendous interest in that school, and we've watched as the school board has struggled with, what they're going to do with their finances, and then they've reconfigured, if you will, Whitman. So do you live close to Whitman? Well, it's going to be Littleton Soccer. They're going to lease some of it out to Littleton Soccer. I think some of it has been reprogrammed for Options High School, which is right next door. And I can't remember, does somebody else know what else LPS is having in there? We don't have direct control over Whitman. No, sir.
I got that from England. And I'm going, why didn't Littleton do something like that? This is the wrong one.
Yes, sir. So, okay.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have any more questions tonight? There's a gentleman over there.
I'll just speak loud. Could you speak to how the finances of the city are, the income and revenues compared with surrounding communities? All goes down? Or
I could speak to that. I'm going to let Doug do that.
Well, I think the major barometer is the sales taxes. As we know, a lot of the jurisdictions are heavily dependent on sales tax revenues, and the city's retail sales taxes are down about 6% through June receipts. We're actually doing a little bit better compared to a lot of the jurisdictions in the metro area, and a lot of them are down 7 to 10%. And I think the mayor quoted the other day RTD receipts were even down more than that, about 13%. So I think Jim Woods talked to the downtown merchants the other day and stated that the city was being resilient this year, and I think that's pretty accurate compared to a lot of the other cities and their revenue streams this year. We haven't had to lay off people. We haven't had to furlough people like a lot of other cities, Colorado Springs, Denver, just to name a couple. So we're not in those type of situations right now. So I think we're being resilient, and we hope that the economic picture picks up a little bit toward the end of this year and stabilizes a little bit next year. So I think right now that's what we're looking at, and compared to the other cities, we're doing okay.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Right here.
There's one.
Thank you. Back to this sewer bill. My irritation to that is not like what the reminder is, but I get it so early in the year. That's the only bill I get that I have to look at it for several months before it comes due. All the other bills I get are within 30 days, and it would be appreciated if that's the way I got this one. There would be no need for reminders for anybody. I don't want an answer now, but that's something that you can consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim? No more? Can you talk louder? You want this thrown up to you?
My name is George Stout. I'm from Oak Brook. Speaking of falling revenues, if budget permitting, will the city be plowing residential streets during the winter with the deep snowfall?
You haven't had the mic for a while, Charlie.
Actually, let me cover that for Charlie. Typically, on our priorities, typically we don't plow residential streets. Typically in a season, we're concentrating on the major streets and what we call the minor arterials. Was it the monster storm 3 years ago, Charlie? We did actually came to the council, and I think we got a supplemental appropriation of maybe 200,000, I don't remember. And because that was such an extraordinary storm, we had to go get a contingency supplemental transfer budget. We were hiring contractors, we were paying overtime. But typically, in Colorado, where we have, usually we get some solar help. The cost of gearing up, buying the equipment to consistently plow residential streets on a very consistent basis is really prohibitive. We do take a look at it, like I said, on a storm that's just, over the top. But generally speaking, we don't find it to be cost effective to try to have the amount of equipment that you would need to plow all the major streets and the residential streets. So that's the policy that we've had for many, many years.
I live next to retired neighbors who have cardiac problems, asthma problems, and I feel that we're obligated to.
Okay, just for everybody else in the TV, he says he lives next to neighbors who have cardiac problems, and so he feels like there should be an obligation. Your point's well taken, and we can certainly bring it up with the council. Like I said, we can discuss this if you start to see all the numbers, because once you create an expectation that you're going to plow every residential street, I can assure you that those cost numbers will get very high very fast. So I totally understand we get lots of calls from people in individual circumstances. When we add everything up, it gets to be a very substantial number. But I certainly appreciate your concern for your neighbors, and we know where you're coming from. And we can certainly revisit that if the council would like to do that. Yes, ma'am. Well, he's talking about the streets. Marjorie's talking about the snow squad. We do have a volunteer squad to help elderly and frail to plow their sidewalks. So that is a service that we do try to provide. But the street issue gets very expensive very quickly.
Thank you, Jim. Are we on Channel 8 tonight?
I think so, maybe yes.
Well,
I think thumbs up says yes, I'm not sure.
Gee, I would have.
Some of her other hand signals I'm never quite.
I would have paid more attention if I'd known we were on television. That's on every Tuesday night, Channel 8. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure to be in your district and watch you work and accomplish what you have, sir. And I would like to say to Mr. Bloston, who I have known for many years, and the Transportation Department, thank you for street repairs, especially on Cayley off of Broadway. You've done a beautiful job, and I said I was going to write to the editor, and I haven't done it. But I'd like to thank you and your crew for what you're all doing for each one of us here as citizens of Inglewood. Thank you so much, Mr. Bloston.
Thank you. That was very nice. Who else we got here tonight? Is that about going to do it? Police officer. You can come down and use the mic.
Everybody here that knows me knows I can't leave without a shameless plug. So,
Just a couple things real quick. The chief touched on National Night Out. We have 43 parties scheduled as it stands right now. We are looking to probably, hopefully, get to around 45 to 50. So anybody who isn't having a party, who would like to have a party, there are brochures next door that you can fill out, and you can actually call the phone number on there and get us on the phone and schedule those parties with us. We look forward to having you. The second shameless plug I want to give, because there's some people in the room here recently who have done it with us, is every National Night Out we do what's called a Project 365. That's a program that we work on 365 days out of the year, and it addresses an issue within the city of Littleton. One of the issues we wanted to address this year, with the economy the way it's been over the past couple of years, we see less people on the roads in their cars and more people on bicycles within the city. Okay? Part of that has created issues with bicycle safety and awareness on the roadways. So our unit, as you can see, dressed in my nice little bike outfit tonight for everybody here, okay? We work mountain bikes within the city, and we work not only on the trails but also on the roadways. We contact the citizens in the city who maybe aren't as aware of what the bicycle road rules are, and also the vehicles who aren't as aware of what the bicycle road rules are. So this year, that's the project that we chose. One of the things that we're doing with that project is what's called Cops, Folks, and Spokes, and that is a bicycle ride with the Littleton Police Department bike unit. We have done 2 rides already. Some people in this room have attended those rides with us. They can tell you about it. I know Councilperson Brinkman, and I'm sorry, Phil was with us, and Joe and Sue Hansen were with us on that. So we've had 2 already. We have one this Saturday. It starts at 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It'll be a 10-mile ride that starts at Littleton Cyclery right down here on South Prince Street. Okay. We also have one on August 22nd, which starts at Arapahoe Cyclery, Tom, up on Arapahoe Road or Broadway and Ridge Road, and that one will be from 10 to noon. Is that right? Okay. So anybody who would like to join us on that bike ride, we'd love to have you. So please, if you want to get to know your police department, you want to come out and have a good time with us for a couple hours, please come out and ride with us. Okay. Right. We'll stick with that one. Right.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We are on channel. Our city council meetings are on Channel 8 every Tuesday, and if someone's making a presentation and we don't turn around and look at it up there, it's because we have a monitor right here. And a lot of people wonder why we don't turn around and pay attention to what's up on the screen there, but it's here. So we thank you very much. There's a lot of good information pamphlets out there. There's probably some more brownies and coffee. And fill out these cards. And we still have a question from Mr. Trujillo.
There's a couple of candidates you might want to introduce.
Peggy Cole is running for re-election at large. Bruce Stallman is running for election. He's been on city council before. And you can give your own little commercial here.
I'm a Yunju maker. Originally, I came from South Korea 24 years ago. I've been living in this neighborhood almost about 18 years, and I like to serve for this community. And I like to help, and I like to learn. That's why I'm running for city council. Thank you very much.
You're a volunteer now, are you? Aren't you on some of our library board? Thank you very much. We appreciate volunteers. Great. Anyone else could do it? Peggy, you want to say a few words and get revenge on somebody else? Who? What? Jim has something to say. Oh, Jim's running. I guess I haven't seen his announcement yet, but probably why I haven't seen it. Would you like to say a few words tonight, Jim? I haven't announced yet either, so. Thank you all very much for coming, and please have some more brownies.